Today, we are going to examine why men batter and what they believe. What does these men believe? You may not realize that abusers feel powerless. They don't act insecure to cover up the truth. In fact, they're often bullies. The one thing they all have in common is that their motive is to have power over their victim. This is because they don't feel that they have personal power, regardless of worldly success. To them, communication is a win-lose game. They often have the following personality profile. They're insecure, they're needy, with unrealistic expectations of a relationship, and they're distrustful. The characteristics of an abuser include jealousness, verbally abusive, needs to be right and in control, possessive, may try to isolate their partner from friends and family, hypersensitive, and reacts aggressively, has a history of aggression, is cruel to animals and children, blames their behavior on others, suffers from untreated mental health problems, including depression or suicidal behavior. Most victims of abuse respond in a rational way. They explain themselves and believe that the abuser is interested in what they have to say. This lets abusers know that they've won and have control. Instead, one must design their own strategy and not react, thereby not rewarding the abusive behavior. In the following video, Carla Downing gives insight on the belief system of the abuser.
I want to talk to you today about abuse, the belief system that drives the abuser. The abuser has to have power in the relationship because abuse is all about power. It's about having this one-upmanship or power over the victim. So the abuser is always needing to maintain that power. And then that works out like this in the relationship because there's three elements of abuse. The first one is control. The abuser uses the power to control the victim, to make the abuse victim do what the abuser wants. When the victim does not do what the abuser wants, the abuser will punish using any type of punishment. It could be withdrawal, it could be taking money away, it could be silent treatment, it could be taking away an outing or a dinner invitation or something. It could be withholding participation, it could be calling names, it could be harsh criticism. Any type of punishment that hurts and that bothers the victim can be used. And then when the victim complains, that's not fair, I didn't like that, I don't think that's right, the abuser will disregard the victim's feelings, desires, and needs. So this power in the relationship is constantly the battle that the abuser is trying to fight. And the problem is the abuse victim looks at this relationship and thinks this is a relationship with equal power. We both have rights, we both have feelings, we both have opinions, we both have needs. And so the abuse victim will continually try to explain to the abuser what she feels, what's going on, what isn't right, how the abuse hurt, and not understanding that the abuser doesn't really care, because to resolve problems in the relationship would mean that there's equal power. To work things out and listen to the victim would mean that there is equal concern, equal rights, equal humanity, equal needs, and the abuser does not believe that. The abuser believes that he has a right, and I'm saying he because the majority of the time, but not all of the time, abuse in relationships will come from men. But women can be abusive, and it is very difficult for a man to be honest about the fact that abuse is occurring in the relationship. But women can be abusive. Just for simplicity, I'm going to use the word he, so I don't have to go back and forth with he, she pronouns. That gets very annoying. But the abuser believes that he has the right to have his needs met, the right to special treatment, the right to demand that whatever he needs in that moment is done. And what's really confusing to the victim at times is that she might even do exactly what the abuser demands, and yet the abuser may still get mad. Plus, the abuse is inconsistent. You could do the same thing 10 times, and only one time will that elicit an abusive reaction. And part of this is because, again, with the power that's working in the relationship, the abuser wants to keep the abuse victim off balance. Off balance means not really knowing what's going on. Instead of having this clear understanding of the dynamics in the relationship, the abuser will keep the victim second guessing and feeling almost as if it's like that term gaslighting. Am I crazy? I do this 10 times and only one time in the middle does that cause this person to react this way. And then I can, to even top it off, it might be exactly what the abuser asked me to do. So if that happens, you begin to question yourself and think, wow, what's going on? You try to figure it out. Anything that we're involved with in life, in situation, relationship, we try to figure out the dynamics. We try to figure out the rules, figure out how to navigate it. And if you've got somebody who's abusive, it hurts. So you're going to be figuring out how not to make that abuse happen. And if going to the abuser and complaining means that you just get nothing but disregarded, then you're going to try to figure out within yourself, how can I manipulate, not in a negative way, but manipulate and manage myself in this relationship to where I am not abused. And it becomes very difficult and very confusing because the power that the abuser uses in the relationship is literally used to keep the victim off balance. The other thing that the abuser believes is that the abuse is justified. Justified meaning that it's what needs to be done. It might even be said, you need to be trained as a child, or you need to be disciplined, or you need to be taught that isn't right. I need to teach you. Those are all ways of expressing that belief that the abuser has a right to control the victim. They also are very competitive, and abusers, because of that power over, don't see the relationship as one of equal partners. So there's always that feeling of having to be better than the abuse victim. They are also not willing to talk about and resolve problems, because as I said, resolving problems would mean that there's a partnership in the relationship and a desire to fix things. If the abuser and the abuse victim work out the relationship to where there is no more abuse, then the abuser loses that power, which is not the abuser's goal. And then the last thing is that the abuser does not care that the abuse hurts the victim. And that one's really, really hard to grasp when you're in an abusive relationship, because the feeling and belief is that there's what's called mutual goodwill in a relationship. Goodwill means that you care about the other person, you don't want to hurt them, and you also care about the relationship. So you will do what it takes, like a goodwill ambassador. You will do what it takes to keep the relationship working well and not causing pain to either of the people. So basically, that goodwill is there on the side of the abuse victim, but it is not there on the side of the abuser. So when the victim, as I said, goes to the abuser and complains, there will be disregard and a lack of concern. So given this, what needs to be done if you're in an abusive relationship? The first thing that you absolutely have to get through your mind is that the abuser does not want to achieve understanding or resolve issues. If you don't grasp this, you will continually go to the abuser and try to figure out how to explain what is going on in the relationship and why you're feeling so hurt and so abused. And you will not get you anywhere. It will just keep you continually stuck, trying to explain and then getting nothing but abuse and disregard back from the abuser. The other thing you have to remember is that the abuser does not want to treat you with respect. There is not that regard that says this person is entitled to respect. The abuser only believes that he is entitled to respect. And the third one is that the abuser doesn't really want to hear your opinions, your thoughts, and your feelings. And that one's tough too, because again, in a relationship, a healthy relationship, there's mutual sharing, mutual caring, and mutual concern. And yet when you share those things with the abuser, you get back abuse. You get back ridicule, you get back belittling, you get back minimizing, discounting, disregard, criticism, all of those things which are hurtful. So when you share those things and abuse is returned, again, you're confused, because if you don't understand that the abuser really doesn't care, really doesn't want to hear it, because you are not looked at like you are an equal person entitled to the same things that the abuser is entitled to. So how does somebody, if they're abusive, stop being abusive? Well, here's where a lot of the abuse programs and anger management programs kind of miss the boat. Abuse is not really about anger. People think abuse is about anger, but abuse is about the control and about the power in the relationship and the belief system. So abusers have to look at that belief system and change it simply to the following beliefs. I do not have the right to have power over this person in our relationship. We are equals. We are partners. We have equal rights. We both need to be regarded. Our feelings, our thoughts, our opinions, we both need to be respected. There is no right to punish. There is no responsibility to punish. There is no option to punish another person. I do not have a right. I do not have a right to have my needs met. I do not have a right to demand that the other person do what I want. And I do not have a right to disregard this person in the relationship. When this person's feelings, thoughts, and opinions are shared, I need to give this person my attention and concern and empathize and care about what is going on with this person. Now, that is not an easy thing to do with somebody who has a very entrenched belief system. Maybe seeing the parent abuse the mom. Maybe the father abused the mom, or the mom abused the dad, or the children were abused. Maybe the abuser was actually abused and has been taught that this is how he or she is supposed to treat children and discipline them, or that's the way that you treat your wife and that you have responsibility. Some cultures allow abuse and sanction it as okay. But what we have to look at when we look at that, changing that abuse, is that it's not about anger. It is about believing that the abuser has that right to abuse. And I should say one more thing. Here is an example. I had a woman who told me she was going to separate from her husband because of emotional and verbal abuse, and just a lot of anger, a lot of rage, a lot of belittling, putting her down. And he said, fine, I'll go to therapy and I'll work on the anger, and I promise that I will not get angry with you unless you make me. Right there, that proves the belief system of an abuser. It's not my fault. You make me. That's one more thing that is the belief system of an abuser, is that the abuse victim makes the abuser abuse, that the abuser doesn't have the responsibility for the abuse. So until that man changes his belief system and says, she doesn't make me angry. I have a responsibility to control my own feelings, my own anger, and I don't have a right to excuse it because I think something that she did upsets me, or even the fact that it does upset me. What if she does something that does result in him feeling angry? It's still his responsibility to control that anger. He still doesn't have that right to abuse his wife. So the abuser has to look at the belief system in order to really get to the root of abuse.
Men Who Batter is a batterer's intervention course offered at Life Skills Academy that covers these topics and many more. If you need help in these areas, the education and prevention programs at Life Skills Academy can help. Go to lindamcqueen.org. Please take advantage of our forums, chats, group meetings, webinars, and hangouts. If you have any questions, please email us. A link to the website and email address will be provided below. A certificate of completion will be issued upon completion of courses taken with Life Skills Academy. Life Skills Academy provides a platform for you to voice your issues. There you can share stories, heal wounds, and take back your lives. Create your own group in the forum today. Go to lindamcqueen.org. The page will open up to Life Skills Academy. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Remember to like and share. And if any of you can donate to this channel, please do. Go to lindamcqueen.org to make a donation. Thank you.